In this interview, we have a very special guest who went from selling flying squirrels to building multiple 7- and 8-figure brands. It's going to be a good one. All right, so I'm here with Dylan Vanas, and I would like to do the introduction, but I feel like, Dylan, it would be nice if you can give everybody a 30-foot overview of, your background and just who you are.
Sure, yeah. So look, I've been a entrepreneur for the last 6 years or so, and before that I really was what I'd say was a wantrepreneur. I grew up in Canada, and I come from a family of dentists. My dad was a dentist, his dad was a dentist, so naturally I was supposed to come and I guess take over that family business. And you could say that was like the ultimate golden handcuffs. See, if I'd followed that path, I probably would have had it really made for me in my life. But at the end of it, I really know I didn't want to be a dentist and look in people's mouths all day, every day. So from the moment I was first went to college, I was like, I got to figure out a different path. I got to figure out some way where I can do something that's not this. And so I started trying business after business after business, like every business you can imagine. I tried creating. So, Amazon, FBA, drop shipping, like e-commerce, sales, like you name some kind of business opportunity, I probably tried it and I failed at it. And then about 6 years ago, I discovered the business I'm in now, which has allowed me to really have freedom, to have limitless income potential. If I want to go earn more money, I just go out and I just, make a few more sales and it happens. And so really for me, this is after failing at everything else before, I kind of realized, okay, there's actually a real path, a real way where I can make really a difference and have an online business. And it's something that is really duplicatable and other people can follow as well. So that's kind of how I ended up here. My agency is called Mindful Agency. We specialize in helping people grow their authority online. We sell packages anywhere from a few $1,000s a month to some clients pay as much as $80,000 every month. And we have the ability to sell both small ticket, mid ticket, and high ticket packages to our clients.
And, that's amazing. And I definitely want to talk about some of those experiences you went through. But I first want to start with, and you don't have to give specifics, but maybe ballpark with your agency, Mindful Agency, roughly how much have you done in sales with that?
We've done tens of millions of dollars in sales, and I got started, 6 years ago. So in the last 6 years, we've done tens of millions of dollars.
And if you were to kind of, break this down to a fifth grader, right? Like what are people, because people are paying you what? They're paying you a couple grand a month. They're paying you $100,000 a month. Like, what does that look like, per deal?
Yeah. So when I first got started, my first 2 months, I made about 20 grand. I scaled up to $20,000 per month. And at the time, clients were paying me anywhere from $500 a month to $3,000 a month. But that, that being said, I realized that there's both, you can scale with a lot of clients paying you a small amount of money, or you can have a handful of clients paying you a lot of money. And so now we kind of do both. And so some clients pay us like, we still have clients on that older model where they're paying us a few $1,000s a month. But what we really shoot for is clients that are paying us $20,000, $50,000 packages, because for me, I'd rather work with a client that's a little higher end and we can give them the proper service than a whole bunch of clients that are on the lower end spectrum.
So a client could literally be worth a few $100,000 in a year for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Individual clients be worth, in some cases, we have clients that pay us hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're touching, almost $1 million from individual clients per year.
Wow. And, for somebody watching this right now, and even for myself, right? If you were to kind of break this down, to a fifth grader, right? What do you get paid that much money for? Like, why are people going to stroke you a check for, a few $100,000?
Well, the simplest answer is we're just helping them get more of what they want, which is growing their brand and their online presence. And so, I subscribe to the theory that Zig Ziglar said, which is you can have anything you want in life if you just help enough people get what they want. And so for us, my clients are other businesses, and they need, typically businesses need two things. One, they don't have enough business, or they want to scale their business and they need more leads and lead flow. in which case we'll go and we'll generate them leads through, different methods, right? So it's leads for their business. The second thing businesses need is businesses that already have good lead flow and are pretty successful. Oftentimes they want to increase their price or reach new, go to new markets. And so what we help those clients do is we help them boost their authority online. So if you've ever seen someone featured in, like a morning TV station, right, where they're sitting there and the TV hosts are interviewing someone who's you never heard about before, it's just some local person. Well, that person oftentimes was working with a company like mine to get them on that TV station, and they do a interview. Now that becomes interview they can put on their website, and maybe they get some clients from it. And in the same way that that's done through video format, there's also digital format of that too. So Forbes.com, Inc.com, New York, Washington Post, but all these publications, all these traditional newspapers, they now have website versions of it where they'll write articles about notable people. And these articles show up really high when you search in Google. And so we found that if we work with a client and they pay us, we can then go to these different kind of media publications and outlets, and we can actually say, hey, look, I have this client, I think you should write about them. And then they get featured in a major publication like this. So just to break it down, really simple, we help them, new businesses, like get more leads, grow their business. And then businesses that are more established, we help them really grow their online presence so they can charge more, make more sales, and get in major media online.
Got it. Yeah. And obviously people now know, because of what happened years ago, that if you're not online, the chances of your business being around, aren't very good, right? So there's a real demand and need in the marketplace. So when you're saying that stuff, right, and you're talking about connecting businesses with, publications and, getting them on TV, and, the first thought that I'm sure that a lot of people have is like, dude, how does someone go from, Dylan, who was, I guess let's actually do this. We're gonna put a pin in this. At the end, I want you to break it down. Like if you were brand new and you were, thrown out, on an island naked with a phone in your hand, like how would you do this again, right? What's the fastest way for someone to recreate it? So we'll talk about that at the end, but let's start with like, where did this all begin, right? So when did you actually decide, hey, I want to actually go and do something a little different outside of, becoming a dentist or a doctor or a lawyer, right? When did that decision happen for you?
Well, I think there's every single person, it's like there's something inside of us yearning for more. And some people activate it early on. Some people don't activate it, and they have to wait maybe their whole life, and it never gets activated. For me, when I was like in my teens, I was like, I just didn't understand why people wanted to do the normal path, going to college, get a degree, all this stuff. And so I think at different stages in life, people kind of feel this, where they're like, either maybe not happy with where they're at, maybe something triggered them in their life where it's like a health scare or like the passing of a loved one. But in everyone's life that I've worked with, that the thousands of people I've been able to coach and consult, and the clients we've had, is that at some point or another, every successful person had something that triggered them, and they said, okay, I want to change. And so for me, that change just happened to be young, which allowed me to get started pretty early. And for me, I was just like, I don't really understand why I don't necessarily want to go this path everyone else seems to be going, or everyone tells me to do. So when I was 16, I read my first personal development book. It's a book called Think and Grow Rich. I learned about things like goal setting, time management, public speaking, and all these things that I knew would help me in the future. And it just kind of led me on the journey of wanting more. Like I said, like we've talked about earlier on in this conversation, is that for me, I tried all these other things. I tried like in the desire to want to succeed, I went and tried to all these businesses. But the problem is that there's a lot of fluff online. In fact, there's so much stuff. Anyone and everyone can just get up and say, here's how you can do whatever, but they've never done it themselves. And so with that, I had to really spend a long time and cut through the fluff and figure out what's real, what's not real. And for me, I ended up pretty much learning through trial and error. So the reason that I went and tried to start an e-commerce company is because someone said, hey, this works and you should do it. And I saw someone online talking about it. So I went and tried it, and I realized, okay, it's not actually that easy. And after enough times of doing this, I figured, okay, there's got to be something that actually works. And I just went with my intuition. I said, all right, like, let me see if there's a business that's willing to pay me to help grow their online presence. And sure enough, I found my first one. Didn't take that long. In fact, it just took a couple weeks. And I was like, okay, there's actually something here. And so from there, I was able to just dive full time into this and just start working with companies. And for me, it's like, now I've actually figured out over the last 6 or 7 years, okay, do this, don't do that. Here's the things that actually work. Here's the things that don't work. And I've been able to, if I were to give me a laptop and an internet connection and throw me in a town I've never been before, I'll be able to recreate the same level of success I've had, because it's a proven system now that I've figured out. The problem though with most people, the reason why most people fail is they just don't know the system. They don't have the system. And for me, I was trying to find it, but no one actually had something that I believe was able to actually work for me.
That made me think of a few things. One, it made me think of with Think and Grow Rich. For anybody that, there's like a scandal, is Think and Grow Rich, was it real? Like, was it really interviews that happened and whatnot? Regardless of it, that was the first book that I read, and the principles in it, I think, are super, super real. So for anybody that wants to go down a different path, that'd be a really good read. The other thing it made me think of is that, for you going down that path where you made the decision first, where you decided, hey, I want to do something different and I want to build a business. You didn't know what it was, but you knew there was a decision, right? Let's talk about that path where you said, hey, I failed over and over again. And this is one thing that I realized from different people that have done, whether it's 7 figures, 8 figures, or dude, I got a buddy that's under the age of 30 right now that runs a $250 million company. I've noticed that they do things and they go out there and they test it, right? And then from experimenting, they learn the 100 things not to do, and they eventually find the gold. They strike gold, and they make millions of dollars, right? So let's talk about those areas where you didn't strike gold, right? So what was the first real business that you, and I say real, like where you consider like, hey, this is the first thing that I actually went out and it was an endeavor where it didn't work out? What was that for you?
Well, my first real business, I was out selling these little animals that are basically flying squirrels. They're actually called sugar gliders. Sugar like the food, and gliders like like a paraglider. And they actually are basically little flying squirrels. They're like real live pets that have this webbing from their arm to leg. And I know before you go like Google this and try to figure out what they are, they're just little pets and pets. And the thing is with them is I actually went and I was basically traveling from city to city, educating people about the animals and adopting them out. And so for me, I did that for actually a couple years. And for me, it financially was okay. But from a lifestyle perspective, I had no life. Like I actually, my mom and dad, I was basically like, before this, I was basically around them all the time, right? I went to college in the same kind of area same area where about 15 minutes from where they lived. So for us, we saw each other all the time. Well, with this, once I started doing this, I was traveling. I was in a different city every week. And so for me, I barely saw them for like the next 2 or 3 years. And I realized at that point that like no amount of money is worth sacrificing your life for, right? Like there are opportunities where you can have a life, have freedom. And my life was the business. And so I find that with so many business owners, they think like, oh, let me go start a cleaning company or a landscaping company or a local business. And you're effectively just buying a job. And so for me, my first thing was this. I started the business, and while it might look good on paper, like, okay, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars being made. The truth of the matter is that at the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account if you have no friends, no family, and no fun. So for me was the first business I ever did. I learned a lot. I learned more in the first 6 months of doing it than I did in the 3 years of college before I dropped out. And for me, that was kind of the starting point.
And with that experience there, you were selling these flying squirrels. How much would you sell them for?
Between $500 to $600 each.
Okay, so from selling $600 squirrels to doing 6-figure deals, right? What would you say? So that experience, would you consider it, I guess, would actually not you, would somebody that, watched you do that experience, would they consider that experience like a win, like you were successful in it?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I think maybe some people would say I was successful, but my family would definitely say like, I lost myself in that time.
What was the thing that you took away from that experience, skill set wise? What was the skill set where you're like, I walked away from that with the ability to do, A, B, and C?
Well, the thing I learned with that was one of the biggest things is you have to understand if I'm driving in one of the cars I had, I had teams in like 3 different cities at one point. It was getting into a big operation, and one of the cars I was driving was like an old broken down like 1980s ambulance that we converted into like one of the team cars. And so I'm driving this like across Canada. It's like snowing, like this like massive truck is like, sliding all over the place. And one of the squirrels gets loose in the back of the car. Okay. And we hear this it's jumping around, and I like say to one of the guys on my team, I'm like, hey, can you go check what's there? And he's like, I can't find it. We take the light out, and I pull over and I go out there and I go look for it, and we find it and I put it back into the cage. And about 30 seconds later, as I'm about to get back on the road, a cop pulls up, and he's just like, hey, I just want to make sure everything's good. Like, you're pulled off on the side of the road. It's freezing. It's like icy out. What's up? He looks, and in the dash, I'm telling you, this ambulance, like the entire dash where normally you have like plastic and stuff, was all ripped out. It looked like I had stolen this thing from like a hospital, and now I'm cruising it around with my team. And so he obviously says like, hey, license, registration, give me all this stuff. Yeah. And now I'm going back. I haven't registered this car yet. I bought it off some dude that I met, like literally I had to hitchhike my way across the country. I met this guy hitchhiking. He told me he'd sell me his van. I was young. I didn't really know the process of it, so I didn't even check the paperwork on it. And now I have to tell this cop, like, hey, I don't have any documentation for this car. You had to start it with a screwdriver. You had to tap wires together to turn the heat on.
Oh my
God. And it was like, in the pursuit of business success, like I didn't even think I was just like all blinders were on. A cop, long story short, gave me a warning, told me, hey, go to this town. You can register the car tomorrow, and you can be on your way. But ultimately, one of the biggest things I learned, or I'll give you the big 3. Number 1 was how to manage stressful situations, right? One of the things about business is creative problem solving. A problem comes up, how can you manage and solve that? Number 1. Number 2, I did learn how to do sales, right? While we're technically selling an animal, there's still a sales process that goes into it. That people who are interested, they need to have the right questions answered. And then the third thing I learned was how to manage people. So in any organization, any company, you can't do it all yourself. And there was no way for me to be doing everything myself. And so I learned how to hire, manage, and get people going. But you can say I basically had like an MBA, a master's in business administration, inside of like even just the first 6 months I was doing it, because there was such a steep learning curve.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about, like actually me trying to put myself in your situation where you're like, dude, I got to make it work. And you come across a guy that's, probably looks pretty sketchy. He's like, dude, I got this ambulance. It'll be perfect for your squirrels. And you're like, let's do it. Let's do the deal. The fact that you had to start it with a screwdriver or like hot wire it, you're like, dude, it's going to be perfect. Like this will get the job done. It's just a funny thought. And most people would have quit, dude, long before that point. So yeah, it's funny.
There's a certain level of grit that every entrepreneur has to go through. And the cool thing about today's age is you have the ability to create businesses online where you don't have to go buy an ambulance and drive it around with a screwdriver, because you can do stuff like you can start online, and way less stress, way less worry, and way less, to be honest, risk. And for most people, I'm kind of envious.
Most people would, the idea of like I'm going to say this, like, for example, we have a lot of sales reps. So I run a lot of sales reps, and, the sales reps that we run, you'll have a guy that's dude, I talked to the guy, and he was like a little upset that I called him, more than once, and he told me he wasn't interested. So it was just, man, I just don't know if I'm cut out for this job, and that's it. That's like the resistance, and that's kind of where they're at. So I think people are getting a little soft.
Yeah, look, people are getting soft, but the thing is we're in an age where things are easier too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
for me, I think if anyone, in order to be successful, you do have to have a certain level of grit and a certain level of perseverance to push through, because they say that the harder the challenge, oftentimes the greater the reward.
Yeah, I see. So on that was your first real experience with business. You were the Squirrel King, and then you went and did what? What was the next deal?
I for the next several years, I kind of hopped around from idea to idea. I tried to start a electric bicycle company, and I went to China, invested hundreds of thousands of dollars to manufacture these electric bicycles. It was a little bit before its time. They're more popular now. We were a little bit before our time, and that ended up being a business failure. I went and partnered with this technology company and tried to create actually it was an Airbnb business. We were like renting out apartments and then putting them on Airbnb and trying to like do this arbitrage thing. And when we got to over 100 units that were on Airbnb, everything kind of just fell apart. And then I went in and it did a few things here and there, but after that, trying sales and a couple other opportunities, and none of it really worked out. And so for me, I was like, there's got to be some world where I can sit, whether I'm in my house, living room, kitchen, or a living room table, the kitchen, or I'm in Panama, looking at the beach. Like, there's got to be some way where I can earn money and help businesses. And that's when I kind of reflected on myself, and thinking, like, what does the world need help with, and who do the people who have money need help with? And it was just simple. It's like I looked at the stat, and it showed me that at the time there was like 15 million businesses created that year in just the US alone. And so I was like, holy crap, like, these businesses, they all need help with what? They need help getting online and using social media. And so I was like, what if I use social media, and I wasn't like heavy into it, but I'm like, I have Instagram on my phone. I kind of know how to work the app. I bet if this business owner would be willing to pay me $3,000 a month, I'll run their entire Instagram page for them. Heck, I'll even go run some Facebook ads. I'll learn how to do that, and I'll help them grow their online presence. And so I did that, and that first client ended up referring me to like a bunch of other clients, and then within my first month, now I'm making $20,000 a month with this business, or first couple months, like on social media, and it's this real business at that point. And so I think that the opportunity now, it's crazy because it's even bigger than ever before. See, COVID came and proved to the world that you got to be online. If you're not, you're like, you could just go out of business like that. So now there's even more people coming online, but most people don't know what to do. They don't know how to run ads. They don't know how to do social media. There's so much to learn. And so for me, I just come in and I talk to a business, and I'm like, look, you got to do this, this, and this. And then I connect them with my team, and I have some partners too that we use, where it's like, I know you want to grow your social media. I know you got to post content. We'll do it for them. I charge them basically a flat fee, let's say $5,000 per month. And then I have some people that are either my employees or also people I refer it out to, and say, hey, you do the social media, you do the ads, and then I just basically get a portion of the actual revenue, and I'm kind of overseeing and managing it.
So, and that makes sense to me. And, with that being said, let's just take it back to, so you went through these different models, and then you had a breakthrough where you eventually stumbled across what you do now, right? Let's talk about when you first started doing it, right? Did you would you say on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being, I didn't know anything about social media marketing, and 10, you're the expert that you are today. Where were you honestly at when you did your first deal or your first, couple deals?
Oh, I had no idea what I was doing. I think I found someone's script on YouTube from
Mm,
someone else who had done sales and
mm,
selling social media services, and I just like pulled this script up and I had it on my thing, and I'm on the phone with the client. I'm just reading through the script, and at the end of it, the client says like, I was like, I remember one line. I don't remember anything else. It just said, ask if they want to work with you, and then shut up. And so at the end of this call, this script, I'm reading through it, and I said, so it'll be $3,000. Do you want to start today? And I'm just sitting there like this probably realistically 3 or 4 seconds felt like
mhm.
an eternity. It felt like I was sitting there for like 2 hours. My
Yeah.
throat's choking up and I'm like sweating and I'm just waiting to hear her say how much, like, or hey, can I speak to some past clients or something? And she just says like sounds good. Like, how do I pay? And I was like, in my head, I'm thinking, I don't know how you pay.
Yeah.
uh, and so then, from there, I'm YouTubing things, trying to figure this out, and
Yeah.
I'm like, sounds good. I'll send you a contract and we can get started. How about tomorrow? She's like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So I I ended up figuring out how to do the payment, send her
Yeah.
the payment link. She pays half up front, half after. And we end up just ultimately having a really successful operation where that order ends up going through. She ends up being a recurring client for me, and it's a big win.
And then from there, that's kind of where you saw the light at the end of the tunnel, and you just kind of kept running with it. And you said you got up to 10K or 20K your first 60 or 90 days, right?
Yeah, I think that the cool thing is if you do the math on this, right? Like that client paid me $3,000, going to pay me $3,000 a month, and then I've got a few other clients on that. From a employee perspective, if you want to make $100,000 a lot of people, when I talk with them, like, what's your goal? For people who are like middle earners, some people obviously that if you're earning already a significant income, you want to scale, like you're probably already thinking as a business owner. But a lot of employees out there, people working a job, the thing is they're like, I want to make 100K or 200K or whatever it is. Well, let's realistically think about what that looks like, right? If you want to make $100,000 a year, if you're making, let's say, above minimum wage, let's say you're making $20 an hour. That's a decent wage. IRS, I think the minimum wage in the US is $7.50. So you're almost 3 times the minimum wage. You need to be working 96 hours per week in order to make $100,000 per year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not real for anyone, right?
Yeah.
And people think, like, I ask them all the time, like, hey, you want to earn more money? What do you do? They're like, I'll go get a second job. It's like, no, that's not the way to do it. When you own a business, it's simple. I have 3 clients. They pay me $3,000 a month. I'm making $9,000 a month. I'm making over $100,000 for the year.
Yeah, that makes sense. And on that note, right, I mean, yeah, it's simple math, right? And then obviously time went on, and you started doing, hey, I rather than doing 10 clients to make 30 grand, I could do 1, right? But to take a step back, right? And I know this about you for a lot of different reasons, but you did. So now someone brand new, if they wanted to get started like tomorrow, right? Go ahead and maybe you can give everybody like a 30-second overview of Agency Box, the software, and how someone could use that to not experience whatever mistakes you did make, and how it maybe would help them fast track their success.
Yeah, sure. Look, I've been through this. I learned through trial and error. And a few years back, I was like, there's got to be some way for people out there to have the same results, but not have to go through all the lack of a better word, the BS that I went through, and having to figure it out myself. And so I put together a platform where I combine the knowledge that I've learned over the last 7 years, packaged it into bite-sized, easy to digest, step-by-step process to go out and actually get to what are you selling, how are you selling it, where are the people coming from, and then how do you actually offer it, and showing that system. And on the back end, once someone actually has clients work with them, I also through Agency Box provide them the solutions and the fulfillment for them to go and have that stuff. It's called white labeling, where it's basically the idea. This is something that Trader Joe's, a major grocery store chain in the United States, does. Is they take a product, let's say like an apple juice, and they put their logo on it. It says Trader Joe's apple juice. But the truth is that apple juice is made by someone else. They're just the person that take all these products. Pretty much everything sold in Trader Joe's is someone else's product. They put their logo on. So I took the same idea into this industry, and where someone brand new just starting out can go and actually take our services, put their own kind of packaging on it, and sell it to their clients. That way, whether they're a brand new beginner or someone that's already had a lot of experience, they can actually come in and use the services and the solutions we have, and it doesn't take any technical knowledge at all. So that's kind of, I guess, like what I did is I put together, hey, if I was me 6 or 7 years ago, what would have been the thing that could have taken me from $0 to $100,000 in half the time, right? And then I package it together in a way where we create win-win relationships with new people starting out or people that already run successful agencies.
So the beautiful part about that is, it reminds me of the models that are most successful, right? Look at the most successful companies today: Airbnb, Uber, Lyft, Amazon. These are companies that realized, hey, there's a technology, they have the technology, and they're the connector between people that want goods and the goods, right? So now somebody can come in and get access to, instead of the Amazon platform that connects you to whatever you want. And obviously, as time goes on with that model, they started introducing their own products to make even more profit. Someone can take that same concept, and there's the Agency Box platform. There's 22 million brand new businesses in the US, this last, year. There's even more worldwide. Like, there's a lot of them, and they can just connect the dots. Here's the platform for the service and goods. Here's the people that want it. Let me connect the dots. And, it's a really easy way for someone to go out there and deliver a service and good and make a couple grand doing it, right, on a single deal. So that's amazing. I think with that, I don't necessarily have any more questions about the agency stuff. I do have, I guess, a couple of questions on more on I would say personality traits / things that you've noticed, right? You've worked with a lot of different entrepreneurs. Some of them do 100 million a year. You have some guys that do 100 million, 200 million, done $1 billion, right? What would you say is one of the main traits that is maybe different than the average Joe down the street? What's one trait that you've seen in common with them?
The most successful people on the planet, they've reduced the time from thought to action. That's it. Literally, success is as simple as I have this idea, I want to do something, and I'm acting on it right away. So for example, earlier today, I had an idea. There was someone I had to call, and old Dylan, unsuccessful Dylan, would have said, okay, great. It's middle of the day. He's probably busy. I'll call him tomorrow, right? Well, tomorrow turns to next week, turns to next month, turns to next year, and it never happens. And I'm in the same situation I was the day before. The most successful people I've met, the billionaires, the guys who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, they have an idea and they take action and implement right away. And I think that that's the thing I admire most about people is they see something, they like something, and they just take action on it right away. There's someone that they think could be a client, and instead of waiting till tomorrow, they just ring them. And guess what? When you take action, when you do things, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, it just rewards you. I don't know how to describe it any better. It's just when you're showing up, you're putting in the work, like you're gonna get results. It's almost impossible to take action and then see no results. With health and fitness, for example, if you're going to the gym, I don't care if you're lifting weights with your toes and hoping to gain strength, like it's gonna eventually work out. And I think the same thing in business and life.
That ties in, right? Like, you talked about starting different businesses, different companies, different ideas, and you took a lot of action and you quickly realized what didn't work. And our minds are programmed to take mental note of that, store it subconsciously, and your body doesn't want to move towards pain. It wants to move away from it towards pleasure. So if we think about that and just the way that we're hardwired, if someone takes so much fucking action starting different businesses and you learn all the different ways it doesn't work, subconsciously you will start to go more towards the right way. And if you have half a brain, you ideally can even look at who else is winning that's already winning, and let me maybe take some of the actions that they're doing and plug those into the actions I take, and make the trip 5-10 times faster, right? So that's cool to kind of plug that all together.
Yeah, I think that there's one of the best things, and the best things I ever did was I knew that I didn't know everything. And I think that everyone knows there's like the person that's the know-it-all in your life. Like you can think to, and I'm there's one person I'm thinking of that I like very explicitly. And the thing is, there's always this person. You tell them something, and they're, oh, I already know that, or yeah, I've heard of that before. But the thing is I've never heard. You ever hear a billionaire? If you say something to Elon Musk, he's not going to say, I know that. He's going to say, tell me more. He's going to say, why do you think that? Jeff Bezos, Mark Cuban, like these guys aren't coming at it saying, and by the way, those are all billionaires, some of the wealthiest people on the planet. They're saying, tell me more. Like what is that about? And I think that for me, I realized this early on, that there's someone else out there that knows more than I do about a certain topic. And I could go read books for years and years to learn about that topic. The thing is, one book can take you sometimes weeks to finish, hours and hours and hours of reading. Okay, I can go listen to their podcast or watch their YouTube content or whatever it is. But one of the best and fastest ways to learn from someone is just whatever it is, get in front of them and get the most valuable experience you can with them. So for me, my first mentor ever, I went and I literally was I convinced him to. I went to him and I knew that he read a certain book, and I was like, dude, I heard you love the book Think and Grow Rich. Tell me about that. And he ended up giving me a laundry list of all these things to do. But basically, I got in front of him and I spent time with him and I learned from him. And so I think that the best way to grow and move towards what you want to do is know and agree that we don't really know everything and probably never will. And then go to the people who know the knowledge, have the knowledge, and just ask them to teach you it. It's just literally as simple as that.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I like about having that mindset is one, if we look at people that are really successful, you talk about like Warren Buffett reading, books, and why does he believe he's worth billions? Why does he believe that he still has something to learn? But most people watching this don't believe that. Maybe they believe they can't learn it. But this is what I like about it is this: no matter what, if you go through those different experiences where you pursue something, whether it's selling squirrels or, going to China to build a product or whatever it is, you're going to leave that experience with a skill set. And when you have those experiences, you start stacking these skill sets over time. And this is what I think is truly powerful about it. Whether you go on to build your own businesses and you do that, or you decide, hey, you know what? I actually experienced that, and running a business completely on my end and being the guy wasn't something that I really enjoyed. I really am just looking for, whatever it is. There's a lot of ways where you can actually partner with people and even be an entrepreneur. There's different ways to take those skill sets, but what I love about it is whatever happens, it's going to be undeniable that you are more durable, and your brain will start to shift from being just an order taker to you being somebody that's a solutionist. You could actually come up with solutions to problems. And by doing that, you're going to set yourself up, your family, your future generations, I believe, up in a way where you will be more durable. There's going to be a lineup of, 100 people that want, XYZ job or want to work with this company. And people that have a business will take notice that you've had different things and you've went and learned those different skill sets, and you'll be more well-rounded. And it even allows you to, you at a physical level, you start to solve. I believe that the way your mind works and the way that you even look at problems starts to change if you run a business, because you're just dealing with, you understand and you don't think of a problem as a bad thing. You know that, hey, if I solve that problem, dude, it could be worth $100,000, $200,000, $1 million, right? And by doing that, you're going to set yourself up, no matter what you decide to do, in a better place.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more. The problems for someone else is dollars for us if we have the solution.
Yeah. So, with that, I'd like to, we'll wrap this up here. And, I think that it'd be cool to jump in and talk about another chapter, which would be, a lot of we talked a lot about like, you getting started, but I think it'd be good to talk about another chapter more on advanced business strategies and how you actually have multiple 7-8 figure brands and manage a few hundred people, and go more on that side. But yeah, Dylan, appreciate the time today. And anything else that you want to say before we jump off here?
No, I think that's it. So I'm excited to. I'd love to dive in deeper on that stuff too. There are simple ways to in business and life. I think a lot of people overcomplicate it, and if we just have the simple process, I like simple. I'm not like I'm not terribly smart or creative or anything like that. I just know how to take these big things and make it simple. And so definitely excited to chat with you more, and yeah, appreciate the conversation.
Sounds good. All right, let me go ahead and wrap this up.